Hey guys, it's Nick the Booksmith. Welcome back, welcome back. So today I thought I would go over something that I get a lot of questions about. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just make a video. And then that way, if somebody has a question and they see it, they can watch it and maybe it will answer your question. Or perhaps if somebody contacts me and they have the same questions, I can just direct them to this video, which will probably be a lot more in depth than what I could type back to them in a message or an email, right? So today I just wanted to go over some of the file formats that not only I use, but lots of digital kit sellers use, like on Etsy and other marketplace forums. There are zip files, there are PDFs, and JPEGs. Those are the main ones. And everybody pretty much knows what a JPEG is. That's just basically an image file, right? It's a photo, it's a picture. Those are what the images, are built as, is usually some kind of a JPEG or a PNG file. So why would a seller like me, like a digital graphic designer, use a zip file or a PDF? Why can't we just upload just JPEGs? Why can't we just have JPEGs? So let's talk about that a second. The zip files, let's talk about zip files first. They are basically a folder that you can fit several other files into to consolidate space. So it's like, taking several pieces of paper, we'll just pretend these are JPEGs, and we put them into a folder, and instead of having two, you only have one. At least the computer sees it as one file and not two, okay? And why would I do something like that? Why would I want to consolidate files, JPEGs, into something else? Well, the marketplace platforms like Etsy may only allow a limited number of upload slots. Etsy has 5, and they only have 20 megabytes worth of space in each slot. So it's not like you have any amount of JPEGs you want. So if a seller has a huge kit with lots of images, they're going to have to consolidate them down into only those 5 upload slots. So for example, if a kit has 20 JPEGs, 20 images, 20 pages, the Digi seller would have to separate those into, like, if we're talking about zip files, they would have to separate those into 5 zip files, and so they could put 4 pages in each one. Or if there was only 18 pages, they could, just divvy them up into those 5 files, however they wanted. The thing is that because each slot that you can upload into only has 20 megabytes worth of space, they cannot be massive files, because a zip file doesn't make your images like less quality. It's just, it mashes them together so the computer only thinks that it's one file and not 5 or 6 or whatever. It's still going to be the same size. So if you have your images, sorry, this is a square. This will come in a minute. So let's say you have 5 images that you have to put in one zip file. And let's say one of them is 4 megabytes, one of them's 3, one of them's 6, and one of them's 4, and then the other one's also 3, right? Well, you got to add all these up, right? So that's 10, that's 17, and that is 20. So that is 20 megabytes total into that file. If it's 20.1 megabytes, the Etsy slot will not accept it. It has to be 20 even or under, or it will not get accepted. So you can understand why because of this limited amount of space, sometimes we have to consolidate into something like a zip file. And a lot of people are confused about zip files because they don't get used very often just in regular life. So let me show you how to open up a zip file. All right, to open up a zip file, here it is on my desktop, and I double click, and there's a couple things you can do. You can either click and drag out whatever files you want to print, or you can right click and open, and then it'll open up the Photos viewer. I think that's the same thing in Mac too. I think it's called Photos. And then up here at the top right, do you see this print button? You can click on print, and then it will open up a print box where you can choose the printer that you have, and then it will open up options. So you can choose what paper, where your paper tray is, you know, where the paper is. You can choose the size of your paper, the type of paper, you know, all that kind of jazz. And then you can hit more settings and make sure that if it's in the wide perspective, the wide format like this, it's landscape. And if it's going the other direction where it's tall, it's portrait. So you can change that in here. And yeah, I guess that's it. You can change if it's black and white or color. So that kind of stuff. And you just hit OK. And then it opens it back up into its little preview here. And you just hit print. And that's it. The other way is here on, where did it put it? Over here. Let me close this out. So here's the one I drug off. You can also right click and either hit print, so it just opens in a, you know, in a print box, or you can hit right click and open, and it opens it back up in that same viewer that we had before. Okay, well, what about a PDF? PDF is like a zip file in that you can stack many images, JPEGs, inside to save on space, to make the computer think it's only one file. So for many of the same reasons, a seller may use this file format. PDFs are unique, however. In order to open a PDF properly so that it can be viewed and printed as it should be, use Adobe Acrobat Reader. And that is a free program. It's available anytime. It doesn't matter if you have a PC or a Mac, it doesn't matter. You can, it's totally free. And what it's for is for opening, viewing, and printing PDF files. You can, you know, there might be 5 images in a PDF, but you only want to print number 2. Well, that's fine. You don't have to print them all. And I will also show you how to do that. There is one important reason, though, that I may opt to use a PDF over a zip file, or even uploading plain old JPEGs. What if I have a kit that only has 5 images in it, and I have 5 upload slots, and you're like, well, Nick, just load the JPEGs up. And sometimes I do. The reason why I might put them in a PDF file instead is if the dimensions are critical. With like ephemera, you may not notice if a journal card or washi tape, right, is just ever so slightly smaller than it should be. But what if it's a template? You know, what if it's something like when I teach my classes, you know, what if you're downloading a template for a binding, you know, schematic, or all kinds of things, right? And then in the instructions, I say that, you know, your template should be 7.75 inches long, and it should be 2 1/4 inches wide, or whatever. And you print it out, and you're like, that is not the right. You're like, no, Nick, that is not right. So this is the deal. If you use a Windows computer, the print driver will ever so slightly compress your image without even asking you. Why? God only knows. I'm going to tell you, I've wasted hours upon hours upon hours, like a full-time job worth of hours, like over a month's time, trying to figure out why Windows does that. I have consulted with Adobe, Canon, the brother printer company, and they can't answer my question either. One good thing is that when I first contacted Adobe back in this past winter, it was happening even if I was printing a file from Photoshop. Like I would create a file, let's say, let's bring out that square. Let's say I made a square, a 4-inch black square in the middle of just a regular size piece of copy paper. And I know it's 4 inches because I made it. There are parameters that it must abide by to print out at 4 inches. And so I made a 4-inch square and I printed it out even through Photoshop. And by God, if it wasn't 3 inches and 7/8 square.
No. 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 I refuse. No. No.
Ah, curses. So I contacted Adobe. This is a problem. Don't you think this is a problem? Yeah, that's a problem. Then I contacted the brother printer company because Adobe could not figure out why it was doing that. Just to let you know, it doesn't do that anymore. If you print through Photoshop and you have the Adobe suite, like the subscription that you pay for, like a monthly subscription, they have updated it. So in one of the updates that happened this spring, they fixed that. Thank you, Adobe. Thank you. Because Adobe couldn't help me at the time, this was this past winter, I called the brother printer company because that was the printer I was using at that moment. And I thought, well, maybe it's a printer problem. And brother also, the technicians could not, we went through all my settings and you name it, uninstall, reinstall, you name it, we did it. And it would not print correctly. So one of the technicians had me email them a file, this file, a 4-inch black box on a white piece of paper that should print out. Because if you tell your computer that you want a 4-inch black box in the dead center of a piece of paper, by all that's holy, that's how it should print out. It's not rocket science. It's a box, right? So I emailed them the file. They opened it in Photoshop and they confirmed that yes, it was a 4-inch black square in the middle of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper at 300 DPI. Totally standard stuff. They printed it on 2 computers using their printers. They printed on a Windows computer and they printed on a Mac computer. The Mac computer printout printed the correct dimensions. The Windows printer computer printed small like mine did. And they were stymied because they're like, wait a minute. So something about the Windows print driver that didn't affect the Mac, because the Mac uses its own print software. It has its own print driver. Something about the Windows print driver is compressing the image. And I got to tell you, if the brother printer company was able to replicate the exact problem, then I knew it wasn't just me. Does that make sense? Because I had students that were contacting me going, why is the template not right? Why is it not printing out right? And I'm like, oh, it's right. Because before the end of last year, everything was fine. And then there was an update. And some of you may remember the update. I think it was 1809. And it screwed up a bunch of people's computers. Some people got like their computers would freeze because it would the update kept looping and looping and looping. I had no problems, but I just heard that some people did. It was not long after that I noticed this issue. I'm going to put this file on my Flickr page. The link will be down below. If you want to experiment on your computer and see if it happens to you, just print it. Download the image, put it on your desktop, right click, hit print, let it come up in the little print box and just print it. Just print it as if it was a regular 8.5 by 11 document, because there's fancy stuff on it. So just print it out and then measure it. So this might explain why some images I put into a PDF, because if you open a PDF and you choose whatever page you want to print and you hit the print button, you're going to get a print box that pops up. And inside this print box, there is a little option that says print actual size. And thank you again, Adobe. So if you print through an Adobe program, whether it's Photoshop or Acrobat, which is free, like I said, well, there's a free version and a not free version, but the free version is all you need to look and print. It will print fine because it overrides the Windows driver. It doesn't allow the Windows driver to print for it. So that's why I put them in a PDF form. If the dimensions are critical, I cannot trust the Windows print driver to print correctly. Now, you may be able to print correctly in a couple of different ways. If you do not have Windows 10, like if you still have Windows 8 or 7 or Vista or whatever, they didn't have the same update, so it may print just fine. So I just say, check it out. See what it does for you. See if it works. And if it prints out, it should print out so this one is 4 inches from the outside of the line to the outside of the line, not the inside, not the middle, but the outside of the line to the outside of the line. So there it is, outside of the line, it's 4 inches. This one that I printed using the right click and print method. Sorry, I wrote on it because I was taking some notes. That's how much shy it printed. So I lined it up on this side to that 0 line, and when you come over here, it's like 3 7/8. Yeah, so it is an 1/8 inch off, which, like I said, if you're printing washi tape and the whole page is gonna, or here, let's show this one because I cut the birds up into strips. That doesn't help. So if this prints an 1/8 of an inch smaller, it's not that critical. Your washi tape's gonna be like just a millimeter smaller each strip of it, right? It's just gonna be tiny, tiny, tiny bit smaller. But if you're printing out a template, and I say in a class that it should be certain dimensions and it's not, you might get mad. And this is the answer. This is why. Some of you may have already noticed this happening. Some of you haven't. I wish Windows would fix this. I cannot understand by the life of me why this has not become a bigger issue than it is. Because you'd think people would be printing templates all over the place and going, these aren't right. I know that like Avery and like places like Label Templates, they want you to print through you can download the template, but they have the option to print through their server, which may override that Windows print driver. So I don't know. I'll have to ask Avery. That might be another good company to contact, actually. Maybe they would have some more answers. The Brother Printer Company, like I said, they were kind of flabbergasted, and I told them, I said, if you say something to Windows, it might get somewhere. I said, but I can't, what are they going to do they're like, who is this person? So hopefully it will get fixed soon. Please do the experiment and let me know how it prints for you. And we'll have a little test. I'll put a poll, and the poll will be a little circle with an eye in it up at the top of this window screen, okay? And all you have to do is click on it. It should be showing up very soon, if it hasn't already. You click on it and it'll open up a box and it'll ask you, did it print the correct dimensions? Did it not print the correct dimension? I'll have a couple questions for you, or a question. So you can answer that if you like. So let me show you how to open a PDF, and it's very easy. And like I said, it is absolutely free to... Okay, so what about a PDF? Well, a PDF is not a problem either. Once it is downloaded, you will see it right here on your desktop. If you do not have Adobe Acrobat Reader, it is a free program that you can get. You just go to Google and you can even type in Adobe Acrobat Reader free. And there it is. That's this first one right here, Adobe Acrobat Reader. And this is the free program. Unless you would like extra bloatware in your computer, you uncheck these. You don't have to install any of the McAfee. You don't need that. You don't, unless you want it. I'm not your mom, but you can uncheck it. But anyway, you just install it. And then once it is installed, you will be able to find the PDF wherever you downloaded it to. I like to put things on my desktop if I'm going to be using them right away. And you just hit right click, and then you go to open with, and then Adobe Acrobat Reader. So it opens it up here in the reader, and this particular one happens to have 2 pages in it. And what you can do now is you can just go to, on this one, the print icon is over here on the left. You can just hit print, and a box will open up, and in here you can choose your printer. So pull that down and choose a printer. And then you can choose the pages that you want to print. You can print both of them. You can print the current page that you're looking at. You can choose which pages. So if a PDF has 10, 15, 20, 40, 50 pages in it, and you only want a few of them, you just separate the page numbers that you want with commas, and it'll print what you want. This is the important part right here, is the page size and handling. Make sure you put actual size. That is very important. And then, as you can see how in the little preview, how some of the page is grayed out, like that will not print. And why is that? Well, if you look over here at orientation, it's in a portrait orientation, which is not what this particular image is. It's a landscape. So you click landscape, and then it's, that's fine. Or you can hit auto, and usually auto knows if it's supposed to be, portrait or landscape. But, you can check that. If you want to print in black and white, which is right up in here, save ink and toner, but just make sure that you hit the actual size here under page size and handling, so that your pages will print out as they were meant to be, whether they're mine or somebody else's or ones that you created. This is just a little trick to get around that Microsoft driver issue. Sometimes, depending on your computer, when you download a PDF, you might also be able just to double click on it, and it will open up an Internet Explorer window, okay? And there are 2 pages, just like was in the other one. And if you go up here, there's a print button here. So again, I'm going to choose a printer, and notice here where it says scale, and it's on fit to page, but notice if I click it down and where it says actual size, did you see it just barely, there's fit to page. Watch it move and see how it moves out. So again, this is another way that you can get around the problem. The Windows driver is by using that little actual size trick. But let's go back to the zip file, and let's double click on just one of the JPEGs inside, because that opens up where we can print as well, right? So if you go up here and you click on print, and you drop it down and you hit the printer you want to print with, it does not have the same option. So you have fill page and you have shrink to fit. The fill page is still compressed. If you noticed in the PDF part, when we were going to print the PDF, it had the option actual size. When these JPEGs do not have those options, they only have fill page. Why? I don't know. Okay, guys. Well, that's it. That's just what I wanted to go over with you today. I hope that's helpful. I hope that helps some of you understand why sometimes there's just a zip file with some files in it, with some images in it, and why there's a PDF sometimes, and why sometimes if I have just a few JPEGs, they just get loaded up if it's not critical what size they are. So I hope that helps you a little bit to understand the reasoning behind, the method behind the madness, because sometimes people just don't, they're like, why do you do this? This is so complicated. Like, I know, I wish it wasn't. So I don't want to be complicated. I don't wanna, I'm trying to figure out all kinds of solutions, but I want to be helpful for everybody, no matter what kind of computer you have. If you have a Mac, you probably don't even have to worry about this. You have other things to worry about, but this isn't one of them. You got 99 problems, but this ain't one. So, you know, you can disregard. You still have to open PDFs and zip files though. Sorry, because I have to make sure that it's, you know, available and everybody can print it out and it prints out correctly. So to me, that's important. All right, guys, I will let you go. I hope you didn't get too bored with the schooling today. Sorry. So boring, right? And so dry. I will try not to be this dry nor boring next time, but I hope it helped answer a few questions for you, help you to see why I do what I do. All right, guys, I will see you really, really soon in the next video. Bye, guys.